on Cordy, and that's my alarm to wake up, obviously. So today I just wanted to show you what I'm working on the Helix at the moment. This is kind of a pretty big preset that does all kinds of stuff, but at the core of it is this kind of idea where I've got a dryish preset, bringing in more, bringing in even more, and then the super saturated kind of wet. So most of the time I would sit on the medium, then I can switch in and out a top secret OD. And also a scream. For a kind of classic. But if you go into this stomp mode, I've got a couple of other things going on. Now, I spoke about this reverse button. So I've got that reverse button that I showed you how to do on the command center. So basically in command center, if you go down to whichever button you're wanting to use, you can use this command scroll across, and you can set it to be press release behavior and then press reverse forward is basically what I've done to get that button there. So I'm using the one button looper, but I can also basically I can just chuck that additional function onto the front of the board so that I don't have to try and figure out the 6 button looper so much. I can do the one looper which has the functions that I want and just chuck a reverse, and that's basically all I need. Another thing that I've got going on is I wanted to chuck on like an octave. And the closest octave in the Helix to being polyphonic, I think, is the octave reverb. So if you just have a little listen. So I think it's sort of polyphonic, and if it's not, it doesn't do some of the glitch and stuff because it's hidden behind reverb anyway. So that's what I've got on this button here. Basically it controls the mix of the reverb. And then the other thing that I've done is I've got this cool button that if I hold in, it does cool stuff. So let me just show you. So it's not quite a freeze button like you've seen me do before. It's something slightly different. So this is basically turning on infinite delay. I'm only playing with one hand there, but you can hear that it starts to swell and make these cool ambient sounds, but also instead of it being the freeze where it kind of just sustains what has already been played, it continues to pick up the additional stuff that I'm doing. So maybe I can try and do this. do with that is try and create like a crescendo, and you know, like a big dynamic kind of like a swelling feeling, and then you drop back to how it was. So I think I'll just put up a little demonstration of what's going on there, so you can hear that in context. But basically, just to talk about how I've done that, I've got a delay in the middle of this chain, and if you hold in each button, so already I'll go back in stomp mode. If you hold in the button that you wanted to change, you basically get a bunch of options. So I've wanted it to change the parameter of left feedback via foot switch 9, so this one. So you can change the foot switch, and I've got it set to momentary so that as I'm pressing it down, it's picking up new content to put through the delay, and then as I take it off, it goes back to what the normal settings would be, so kind of like a mash foot switch, I guess. And I'm doing that with a few of the parameters, so I'm controlling the mix when I press this down, and also the feedback. So I have it going to like a higher mix, and then also like 100% feedback, so that's how that is working. I think some of the other delays respond in different ways, so if you had like an analog delay or something like that, I think some of the feedbacks can start to create like actual feedback where the delay takes over. That's certainly something that I've experienced in the past, but it's not happening with this dual delay. So that's something to bear in mind and experiment with. It's kind of a cool effect. You know, it kind of creates feedback to this boiling point, I guess, kind of. So that's just what I'm working on at the moment. I'm trying to think of kind of cool ways to be creative. So yeah, that's just what I'm doing at the moment. So experiment with that kind of stuff maybe. So just again quickly, take yourself to stomp mode and then press on one of the parameters. I think you can have pretty much like 30 parameters changing at a time or something crazy like that. The parameter, set it to whatever you're going to control, so maybe feedback or mix or both. You'll have to do it separately, you know, so you do one and then you do the other. Then foot switch, set it to whichever foot switch, so foot switch 9 for me. The type of latching that you're going to use, so I suggest for this exact function momentary works well. Then set the minimum value and the maximum value, so your normal and then your max, so you're on and off. And then that's basically all there is to that. So it's quite an easy way to add some kind of cool sounding, creative, inspiring delay sounds to the middle of a preset without having to do too much in terms of I'm finding that really inspiring at the moment anyway. So if that was helpful at all, this preset is called JC Wet Lit for the Helix, and I'll drop that into the Google Drive if you want to have a mess around with it. Stomp mode has 10 buttons, if that makes sense, so normally you might have a bank up or bank down here. That's just the way that I'm running it. and then on the other page I have stomp and snaps, if you were interested. If there was anything helpful in this video, if you could like and subscribe. Any questions, drop them in the comments, and only if you wanted to, and if you got something out of this video that you thought that's kind of cool. I've got a buy me a coffee link, but only use that if you can afford it and if you really wanted to, or if you had some suggestions for other stuff you might like to see me try with the Helix. This is just what I'm experimenting with at the moment and trying to get my head around, but I'm kind of really enjoying messing around with these kind of cool little things that you can't really do with any other pedal. I can't do any of this stuff with the Hotone. I can't really do any of this with the gig board. I can't really figure out my way around the interface, but with the Helix I find it really simple to just do this sort of stuff. I guess I've had way more time with the unit, but to me it seems like the interface is really kind of easy to figure out how to do this kind of stuff with, and kind of inspiring to use, so that's cool. So thank you for watching, thank you for liking and subscribing. If you wanted the patch, it'll be in the description with everything else, and also there's the buy me a coffee link if there was something in here that you liked and learnt, or if you got a request for something. And now I'll just play you out with some improvised stuff.